Hello and welcome to Tech Tuesday. My name is Abby Ritchie. You can find me here every Tuesday talking with people who are engaged in age tech innovation. Before we get started today, I first want to thank our sponsors. Let's face it, HR tasks can be a pain in the neck, and that's why ProCare HR is committed to helping you work out those kinks so that you can focus on what really matters, delivering care, right? Ensuring that you can provide the highest level of care is their top priority. ProCare HR has proven results in helping care organizations because they only serve the care industry. ProCare HR addresses the common burdens like workforce shortages, wage gaps, expensive sign-on bonuses, legislative changes, high workers' comp claims, and more. Reach out to them at procarehr.com. And again, thank you to our sponsors, and thank you for all of you who were with us last week for our 100th episode anniversary show. I'm so very grateful and so thankful for you, and hoping that you're having a wonderful first week of the new year. And with that, let's go ahead and run the intro. Welcome back to Tech Tuesday. I have two great guests on today, and I've designed this episode especially for you, the operator, as well as for the tech startup wanting to work with senior living communities. I get so many emails and texts and DMs from folks in LinkedIn just wanting to either get on the show or be introduced to different communities. And once in a while, it works. And today, that's what we're doing. So let me go ahead and bring my guests on. We have Sandro Cilurzo, who is the CEO and co-founder of Safe Living. Welcome to Tech Tuesday, Sandro.
Hey, Abby. Hi. It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me. It's an amazing opportunity.
You are welcome. And I'm bringing back Jon Scott Williams of Fellowship Square Mesa. And welcome back to Tech Tuesday, Jon. Jon, you were on like 2 months ago. I had a bevy of tech issues. If you remember. And so I'm so glad to be able to have you back on to talk about being a test bed community.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Sandro.
Yeah, you're welcome. So guys, the reason we're having the show today and this particular episode is because we want to talk about how tech companies can begin to break into senior living communities. I don't mean it that way, but introduce their technology at senior living communities to first be able to prototype it and make sure it's a good fit, and also to get a community more familiar and comfortable with new technology. And so with that, I want to go ahead and start with Jon Scott Williams, because Jon, when I came to visit your community several months ago, I was blown away with the technology that you're testing there and the way that it's benefited your residents. So could you please introduce yourself to any of our viewers, as well as how you got started with being a test bed community?
Yes, Fellowship Square Mesa is a rental fee community for the average population. We've been able to, we ran into questions from our residents asking, can they have menus? Can they adjust their thermostats? They had problems. And then we found ways to use technology to solve those problems. And it took a lot of work, but we're more than willing to help out our residents with new technology, especially when it's a good fit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember you talking to me about the thermostat and how much money it saved your community, how much time it saved your workforce. And so when you can save money, save workforce, and serve your residents, boom, you've got a fit there. And so, Sandro, how does your solution, Safe Living, help save communities, workforce, as well as support the residents?
Yeah, so I would say the most important thing is just a brief overview that we have built this safe living solution, which consists out of this contactless emergency detector. Looks like a smoke detector. It's a plug and play installation, so it can easily put on a furniture within, for example, the resident's home. afterwards, we are capable of detecting different kind of situations of helplessness. This is like one added value for, of course, the residents and the caregivers. And secondly, we're talking about like helping and assisting the institution or like the communities is by providing information, like invisible information, what was like, for example, about human motion within the room, because our device has no camera, no microphone. It's a custom radar we've built. It's privacy preserving by nature. And this makes it possible to make the invisible visible for the institution. This can be used to optimize their processes. We can do remote check-ins in the morning, like seeing if the person was able to get up in the morning, is taking care of herself, is normal activity visible. So there are two different angles about providing peace of mind and the pathway to help in a more efficient way.
Got it. Got it. Thank you. So it does a whole lot more than just a sensor, right?
Yes. So that's true. The underlying technology is a huge innovation. So that's why we're exhibiting as well at the CES this year, and as past year introduced our technology. So it's a custom radar, and we can sense like tiniest movements within the room. So even if a person is just sitting still, like lying on a bed, sitting on a chair, we are able to determine like 1/10 of a millimeter of a movement. And this motion information will then be analyzed to determine different situations, like situations of immobility, or if we see like a change in behavioral patterns, decline in walking speeds, which could be, for example, a predictor for an increased risk of falling. So the technology is really powerful, and that's why we want to partner up together to explore with Jon how we can add value to the residents and of course to the caregivers, the professional caregivers, the personnel, to optimize and help them with their daily processes.
Awesome. Awesome. And Jon, from your point of view, how do you initiate and launch a test like this within your community?
Well, in this case, the residents object to cameras, they object to microphones, and I'm using it for a special use. I want to know when they're moving, which it will tell me if a resident is moving. I'm going to use it in my assisted living where we have had problems with falls. And residents tend to be non-compliant when you say, I need you to contact us, use your pendant if you need the toilet or you have any emergency. We know they're non-compliant. That's why we have to pick them up. I want to use this single device rather than multiple sensors so that I can put it into apartments, units where residents have a high risk of falling. And this preventing a fall can save them pain, and we can give them better service.
Excellent. I'm so glad to hear that, because you think with so many options out there, there's Alexa, there's the Echoes, and, there's these sensors, and there's microphone detection and all that, and vibration, that people would be more than willing to have this done. But like you said, they're resistant, right? They're resistant to asking for help. So having a passive monitoring system is more helpful. Is that correct?
That's correct. We don't have to rely on them to, they might say, oh, I can get up, I can do it, I'm strong enough. But history shows that they're not. And we don't want to make them dependent by, you can't scold them. So this way we'll know if they start to move, and we will be able to go and respond quickly. And that's our hope. And that will help satisfy insurance companies who pay the bill ultimately on the ROI, that we'll have fewer falls for people with high fall risk, and we'll know whenever they're moving, which is important to us.
Yeah, the one thing that it's just a quick comment, is as well within the device. This is exactly the reason that we have built in LED components, like as an intelligent nightlight. So if we have the information about movement and we know it's dark, based on our experience within the Swiss market from our huge fleet of installation, we can add on value to have this fall preventive mechanism to give orientation in the dark if a person starts to move, because most of the accidents happen, unfortunately, during the nighttime. So
Yes.
this is actually the focus on adding value, as much value as possible with a singular device.
So are you saying that it illuminates at night when it detects motion?
Yes, exactly. This is the nightlight functionality, which can be turned on from the resident by themselves if they have smartphone applications. So this is really easy to configure, and we have many flexibility built in, and it's exactly this nightlight functionality to orient in the dark to help them.
Great, great. And I know, Jon, at your community that you are actively using Alexa as well. How is this differentiating from an Alexa device?
Well, the Alexa device doesn't tell you if a resident's moving. That's the biggest. That's what it doesn't do. But my Alexas will, if you say turn on the light, they'll turn on the light. But again, the resident has to give it the command. It's not an automatic action that takes place. The Alexa is great if they have fallen, because then they can say, help, send security, I've fallen, or to turn on the light. Here, we're looking for it so that it will alert us to movement within the apartment that is interpreted as a person moving, as opposed to turning in their bed.
Great. And I want to bring up the comment that Jesse just posted in the chat. And thank you for that, because it just adds more depth to our conversation. Now, Jon, you did mention ultimately billing insurance, or ultimately having this be an insurance ROI. Can you answer Jesse's question here? Are you planning on billing the insurance company for this technology? Or is the insurance going to provide a discount if this technology is in place?
It's my experience that the insurance companies are the ones who provide the financing for the hospitals, for the return to the hospitals. We have a program right now where we're a part of an ACO, and right now we don't have any risk.
But what does that stand for?
Accountable Care Organization, and our Accountable Care Organization is physician-based. I keep my residents in my buildings 98% of the time. That means 2% of the time they may be out of the building. And the average building has 85% of the time. That difference is how we take care of our residents. And the insurance companies will be willing to provide people or house people in my buildings because I keep them safer and we keep them here longer. That is a ROI, which if you extrapolate that across the caring environment, it's a huge return, and falls are the biggest risk that insurance companies have.
Good to know. Thank you. I want to get back to the test bed community and talk about, how do you determine how many units you use or how long you test it for? How do you do that, Jon?
Well, we've done it on several occasions, and it depends on who what the innovation is and what we could work out. Some of our is ongoing. I have one that's approaching 2 years where we're using sensors in the apartment, nothing connected to the residents, and important numbers are data is being kept and captured by that company, and they wanted to do it for a year or 2 years, and we're entering the second year now, and that's been successful. It's accepted by the residents. We've had other pieces of equipment where they just want to try it out and see if it would work in our environment, and we worked with the engineers. It's mostly what the owner, the developer, is looking for, and I can usually work on any scale depending on the owner's intentions.
Got it. Got it. And Sandro, for you, how have you done many of these tests in other communities?
So We are commercially available in Switzerland, like for the private consumer space, then we have similar setups in Switzerland. And now with the expansion to the US market, so this is a premiere for us. So it will be the first installation with senior communities with Jon's. But based on the tremendous experience from Switzerland, we are really confident about all the things relating installation and setup, because we have a lot of experience based on that this product is within the market. And as well, we have already the first installation had in the Bay Area with private consumers. So we are confident that we will have this a good execution together with Jon on site next week. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Jon, how do you know when it's a good fit for your community? Is there a metric of measurement?
Well, the good fit on this one is 2 weeks earlier, before this came my way, I had a resident who fell, and they're paid for by insurance. And the insurance company, they do on every incident, they do a follow-up. And they said, "What have you done, Mr. Williams, in essence, in order to prevent falls going forward with a person you know has a fall risk?" And our normal thing is we have told the resident to contact us, to press their button anytime they need help. Okay. However, being a prudent person, I know that they're non-compliant, and mostly, and especially the males. So the males are non-compliant, and I give you instructions. This allows me, with Sandro's device, that I'll know when they're moving before they fall. So that gives me the ability to tell the insurance company, this is what I've done. I've put in this special equipment in order to see if the resident I know is non-compliant. And in assisted living, we're not allowed to have restraints of any kind. So we can't do anything to keep them getting out of bed. Nursing homes could, but not assisted living, not in the state of Arizona. So I need to have a piece of equipment, and that's what I'm looking for. So in this case, what started it was the insurance company asked, "What are you doing?" And this is something that I feel a prudent person would say. We are putting equipment in the room in order to know if the person moves ahead of time, as opposed to after they're out of bed and could be falling.
Right. So it's a proactive approach rather than a reactive approach, right?
Correct. We're looking for things, and nobody has the corner on innovation. Every day there's innovative things coming, and I am very open to be a beta center for technology, especially where I have 385 residents that are willing to help. And whenever we find winners, things that work well, like the Alexa, we set that up for thermostats and all. Our residents are using that as their emergency pendant. They're saying, "Alexa, call security." And it ties in now with our emergency pendant. That's a huge win for Amazon and for our emergency pendant organization, because now there's two ways to contact. And for whatever reason, seniors don't like wearing their pendants because
They're ugly. They have
they're
stigma associated with them.
They're for old people, and they're not old. And I look like an older person, but when I'm looking out, I don't feel old. So my residents don't do the same thing. So when they don't have their pendant on, for whatever reason, they say, "Alexa, call security." That has saved 3 lives in the last 6 months.
So good. Thank you. Sandro, let's talk about how you do an initial installation at a community and what kind of challenges you might incur there.
Yeah, so we have there quite a standardized approach, which we follow through as well with Jon. So I would say the most important thing was we had a proper kickoff meeting with all the parties involved. So where we determined criteria of success and requirements, that everybody has a clear understanding. How do we measure progress with clear milestone planning? So I would say this recipe was in the past good, and we will follow that through with this installation with Jon as well. So clear expectation management and several check marks of success. So where we talk to residents, we will have a close collaboration, and we want to get deep insight from all the different entities involved. So the caregivers, Jon, the residents, how do they feel? And secondly, I would say the installation. That's the beauty of the system. Is one of the key USPs is this easy plug and play. So, I mean, it's a plug and play installation. That means we just need to connect the device to the power, as seen here. It's just a cable. So we just fly out to Jon with a couple of these devices, and we are really flexible into the placement within the room. And afterwards, it's like just popping up Wi-Fi connectivity and connect to the resident's Wi-Fi. So entering password, device connected, everything else has been pre-configured on our side beforehand. So most of the time, to be honest, based on our experiences, having a deep conversation with the residents, that's the most important part. That they really understand how does it work? What does it mean, no camera, no microphone? And how can I turn on this night light? And that they get a good understanding of what is possible, and as well, of course, to educate and help them that they are always able to provide feedback to us. I would say that's the most crucial part and takes the most time, is just having a long conversation with the residents to really clarify the technology and what we are really using it for.
Great, great. And when it comes to space and how many devices you need per unit, let's say if we're talking about a 2-bedroom apartment, how many devices would you need for that size?
So a minimum of 1, but let's like with the example of Jon, we will go for 2 devices for like their setup. With 2 devices, that's more than enough for like just from the coverage of the area. But you could, in theory, we have clients which have like a single bedroom apartment where they spend most of the daytime and nighttime. So then you're totally fine with 1 device. If you have like 2 areas for daytime and nighttime, then we have like 2 devices which are communicating with each other. So they are like intelligently connected with each other to have an understanding about the apartment as a whole. So this is how it works. So 2 devices is a good rule of thumb where you cover most of the cases.
And what if the Wi-Fi goes out or something like that? Is there a backup battery or something?
Yeah, so to your question with the Wi-Fi, it's important. There is no data loss happening. So what I mean by that is every data will be locally stored. So even if the Wi-Fi goes off, there is no loss of data. As soon as the Wi-Fi is getting back, it will be reanalyzed. And we are monitoring like the fleet of our customers' devices 24/7, and we will inform their residents and Jon about like if the system has no connectivity, that they are aware of the fact that the system currently in apartment AB is offline. So, but there is no loss of data, and this is how we handle this. Like these different kind of scenarios.
Gotcha. And what about pets? I mean, pets are in there, they're walking around. Does the device get tripped up by pets at all?
Yeah, that's a question we get like every day, of course. So I'll answer like following. If you think about that, we can sense 1/10 of a millimeter of a movement within the room. So this device is really sensitive. And what it makes it possible is that a human creates different motion patterns. Like we have a different body size, volume, everything is different. If you think about a cat or a dog, this is a different pattern. And this is part of the USP of the technology, that we have this understanding of human motion. So we have a lot of clients, myself included. I have my whole apartment equipped. A pet or a dog is not a problem at all for the devices.
Okay, excellent. And I want to ask about who's contacted, right? Like I could see in a community that maybe the security staff or the reception would be contacted in the event that something is sensed, but in a private home, who's contacted?
Yeah, so there's a corresponding smartphone application for the whole family. So the beauty is that you can set up the alerting chain by yourself. I can, for example, as a resident, I can invite my son, my friends, and I can configure the order of alerting, which is smartphone based. And this allows like a complete independent setup with as many people I would like to have within my alerting group. So it is a similar style of alerting possible compared to a professional environment. And with a professional environment, we have just a different order, like the recipient of the alert is configurable.
Got it. And let's see, for any of our participants that are in the chat and watching right now, if you have any questions, please go ahead and post them, because I am just finding this to be fascinating, and it's such a great addition to what is currently out there. So, Jon, with just a couple minutes left, and Sandro, just a couple minutes left, I want to ask you just a quick follow-up question about how you are gauging, and at what point and markers will you be able to tell if this is a good fit for your community?
For me, I'll be talking with staff, and we know the people who are at risk. With the device, how many times do they get out of bed without us knowing, as opposed to currently, where we may be checking on them every 2 hours, every hour, every half hour, depending on what the frequency is. So we'll know the results. We'll know first 7 days. We'll take that number every 7 days, and we're doing this for a specific amount of time, and we'll have a record of how many times have they gotten out of bed without our help with our normal system, and how many times has the device alerted us that they're out of bed. So right now we have to, in essence, be lucky, and the resident has to be compliant. And with this device, I don't have to be lucky. I'm using science in order to ensure our resident is getting the help that they need in order to do the things that they want to do.
Awesome. And Sandro, what do you anticipate is a good amount of time to test the device in a community?
So I would say that with the current setup of the project with Jon, we are aiming for have like monthly milestones. So I would say after 1 month, we have definitely already a lot of evidence and conclusions where we have discussions. And there should be always either like we need to have adaptations or some changes, or like maybe discuss, well, do we have the proper residents with the proper needs? I mean, this is something which can evolve. Sometimes a lot of ideas start to coming up as soon as the communities are starting to experience what is possible with the technology. So I would say 3 months. 3 months is definitely something which is delivering every single month. You have additional like a checkpoint where you say, okay, we are on the right track, we have the right people, or do we need to slightly tweak something? So 3 months is my answer here.
Excellent. Well, I am so excited to see how this goes and to check back in with you after a couple months to see how it's progressed, what you found has worked, what things you're going to refine, and any other comments that you want to relay at that point. Guys, do you have anything else you want to share with our audience at this point? Jon?
If you have a community, if you're interested in technology, and you want to help improve the aging experience, be open to innovative changes, especially where there's low risk to the community. All you can do is help all of humanity.
I love that, Jon, and I hear that in your voice, and I can tell how much of and what level of importance that is to you, and I greatly admire you for that. Thank you. And Sandro, how about you? Is there anything left that you would like to share with our viewers?
Yeah, so first, I couldn't be more happy to be on this show today, because we can spread the word, and the most important thing is receiving feedback. So everybody should just reach out to us, because we have an amazing team. We are fast in implementing technology side of things, but in the end, it's just about adding value to the residents, to the communities, and there we are needing the feedback and expertise of the field. So just reach out to me directly over email, LinkedIn, doesn't matter. I'm happy to hear about your opinions, just to improve our solution, which is aiming to getting help automatically in different scenarios and provide a pathway to help and peace of mind to the whole family. I mean, that's the whole goal of everything of the company. 100%.
And what's the best way for people to connect with you, Sandro?
So the best way would be you can drop me really easy an email, like to info@safe-living.com, for example, or my personal email address. This would be the easiest way to directly engage. And of course, it's worth to have a look at our website and subscribe to the newsletter there as well. There's a lot of material always shared. Just start engaging with us.
Wonderful. And Jon Scott, what's the best way for folks to get in touch with you?
Best way is to use my email, Jon, JON, SCOTT, .Williams@christiancare.org. And I do respond to my email. That's the best and my preferred way of communication.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, guys, thank you so much for being my guests today on Tech Tuesday. Thank you for the folks that are in our chat, participating with your comments. You just rock it, and you really make the show have a lot more depth to it. And thank you to our sponsors at ProCare HR. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you live from CES next week on Tech Tuesday.